You are listening to the Pens Nation radio show on thepensnation.com. Follow us on Twitter at @thepensnation.
It is that time of the year again. 82 regular season games have been played, and the Pittsburgh Penguins are heading to the postseason once again against the Columbus Blue Jackets starting tomorrow night at Consol Energy Center, 7:30 p.m. face-off. And welcome to the Pens Nation radio show. I'm Andy Hughes, joined with Nick Richter. We'll have Ken Will later on, Paige Lewis as well. This is our playoff preview show, the first one, hopefully of many this postseason. And it wouldn't be a postseason preview show without Josh Yohe of the Trib, our buddy, friend of the show. Glad to have you on, Josh. How you doing tonight? I'm sure you're really happy to be covering some meaningful hockey again tomorrow night.
Well, Andy, I am. And as we just talked about off the air, I'm a little worked up right now because I hate the Cincinnati Reds. But other than that, I'm actually in good spirits, and I've been a hockey fan all my life, long before I was a hockey reporter, and ever since I was a little kid, there was nothing that was more exciting than playoff hockey to me as a sports fan, and I really just love this time of year, and I'm ready to go because these last 6 weeks have been brutal to watch, knowing that these games really meant nothing for the Penguins. They've been brutal for them to play in, I think, and brutal to write about, and brutal for the fans, and finally tomorrow night it all gets started for real.
Yeah, it certainly does. The Penguins finish with a 51-24-7 record, 109 points, second most in franchise history, trailing only the 93 Penguins. And let's hope these Penguins can make it farther than those 93 Penguins, because that was a tough year against the New York Islanders. Enough said. We're not going to get more into that, but I guess, Josh, I'm sure you were relieved actually to know that this matchup is going to, Columbus instead of, Detroit or Philadelphia. I know that a lot of the media was a little bit concerned about that.
Well, we're very selfish people in the media. We really only care about our best interest most of the time. And, listen, going into a playoff series, you're going to be spending a minimum of 4 days in the other team's city, and Philadelphia, I've been there, done that. It's not a real pleasant place. And Detroit, I don't like to make fun of Detroit for all the economic and crime issues they have. I really don't, because I actually think it's really sad. But my real problem with Detroit is that Joe Louis Arena is the biggest dump on earth, and just to cover a game there, like you can't even, the press box there is basically in the last row of the stands. You can't even see the ice. And it's just a miserable place to work. And for all the Penguins fans listening who have been to games in Columbus or who are going to Columbus, it's just a great building, a Nationwide Arena. It's one of my favorites on the road. Just a great fan experience, a great area around the building. If you're planning a little road trip, it's just a really wonderful place to take in a game. And, yes, I am very much looking forward to the 2.5 to 3 hour drive as well. We kind of lucked out in the series, I'd say.
Yeah, certainly. Should be great for Columbus, too, knowing that maybe this could be the start of a rivalry. We'll have to wait and see. But I know when, the Blue Jackets first moved to the Eastern Conference this year, this was something that we had hoped to see, just to kind of see what unfolds, and that'll start tomorrow night. Before we get to actually previewing the series, want to get your take on what you really expect from the Penguins here in the postseason, because obviously it's a little bit different than last year. I mean, the Penguins were stacked last year, had so much depth, at forward, especially at forward, compared to this year. A little bit different this year, knowing that, the salary cap was down, and obviously the Penguins didn't make, these huge trades and things like that. But there is a big difference, though, because there are guys that, had been injured and now could be fresh. Evgeni Malkin returning to practice today. It looks like he could be returning tomorrow. Joe Vitale as well. Chris Letang obviously had been resting a while, and Sidney Crosby was able to sit out the last game of the regular season against Ottawa, in addition to Matt Niskanen and Brandon Sutter. So there are some guys that may be a little bit more fresh than they were last year. So I guess talk a little bit about that and what you expect from this Penguins team, because it is a much different. It just seems to have a much different feel than it did last year.
Yeah, Andy, it's interesting. On paper, the Penguins are not as impressive as last season. I mean, last year you had Brendan Morrow on the fourth line, for God's sake. It was, practically an all-star team. But there are things that I like about this team more than last year's team, to be quite frank with you. Marc-Andre Fleury, I think his mindset is better this year. I think his head's in a better place. I think Mike Bales has been really, really good for him. So, that's the most important position in a playoff series, and I think you're in better shape there. I really do. And, I realize Vokun's probably the number 3 guy now, and Zakhoff isn't as good of a backup as Vokun. But how many times are you going to rely on your backup to win a Stanley Cup anyway? It's about the number 1 guy, and I think Fleury's in a great spot. And frankly, I like the Penguins' blue line better this year. I really do. I mean, your 5th and 6th defensemen right now are Matt Niskanen and Olli Mata. I don't know how many teams around the league can boast a third pairing better than that one. In fact, I don't think one can. And I really like the way Paul Martin and Brooks Orpik have been playing in the last couple of weeks since Martin's return. I think that's a legitimately good top 4 pairing, and I cannot say enough about Chris Letang and how he has looked in the last 3 games. He looks to be just back in Chris Letang form. And I think, he's a guy that can drive you nuts on occasion with some of the turnovers and the high-risk play that anybody in the league would take him. He's a great player, and Rob Scuderi's been a little disappointing this season, but I think he's a guy who you expect to elevate his play in the playoffs, and I think maybe he will. And he's been better the last couple of weeks as well. That's a really good blue line. It's better than the blue line they had last year. So I think that's encouraging. And then, obviously, Malkin appears to be healthy. In fact, he was flying in practice today. He's going to play tomorrow. He looks great. So your top 6, I think, is still just as good as it was last year. We know what the weakness is. It's the bottom 6, and everybody knows it. But if the Penguins can find a way to get a little bit of production out of that bottom 6, I see no reason why they can't make a legitimate Stanley Cup run. I still think this is a dangerous team, and probably the team that is kind of the X factor to me in this whole tournament. Now, listen, the Penguins could implode early, and it wouldn't shock me because we don't really know what to expect from them right now. But I'll tell you what, I wouldn't put it past them to make a real run to the Stanley Cup final. I think they have it very much in them.
Now, you mentioned the pairing of Mata and Niskanen earlier. Going into the season, that was kind of a suspect third pairing for the playoffs. You didn't really know what you were going to get, especially with Olli Mata. But with the injuries and everything that the Pens sustained throughout the season, those guys were able to jump up for some top pairing minutes. How valuable was that to this team right now?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, those two are better now because of what they had to go through during the season. There's not a doubt in my mind about that. And they won't have to play as many minutes in the playoffs as they did at times, especially in December when they were the top pairing. But, no, I think it was an invaluable learning experience for them. And just the fact that those two guys are so talented offensively, I think that's going to finish with 10 goals and Mata 9. And that's on your third pairing. That's 19 goals from your third pairing. And then you throw, Paul Martin and Chris Letang into the mix offensively. I mean, how many teams have 4 defensemen with that kind of offensive skill? I can't think many do in the NHL, and I think there's a chance that those 4 can kind of make up for some of the deficiencies that the Penguins' bottom 6 have. I really believe that. So I think keeping the blue line healthy is just paramount to the Penguins' success this postseason.
Yeah, it certainly is. And in today's practice, we saw the lines that Biles used: Kunitz, Crosby, Bennett, Jokinen, Malkin, Neal, Glass, Sutter, Stepniak, Gibbons, Vitale, Adams. I'm assuming that's probably what we'll see tomorrow night. The Penguins did send Dupre, Kobasu, and Harry Zolnierchuk back to Wilkes-Barre, Scranton. Taylor Pyatt, Jason Magna still on the roster as well. Looking at those lines, Josh, are those good lines for you, I guess, or would you change anything about them, or are you think that's the best, the best option here for the Penguins going into Game 1 tomorrow night?
I really have no problem with the top 3 lines. I think we've seen enough out of Will Bennett that he deserves to play on Crosby's right wing right now. And listen, Crosby at the end of the day is the guy who dictates who he plays with, and he obviously wants to play with Bo. So, I think that's a very good top line, obviously, and you have to leave Malkin, Neal, and Jokinen together. Those 3 guys have been terrific all season. So it's pretty clear-cut top 6. The third line, Sutter and Stepniak. Stepniak's the best winger that Sutter's had to play with all season. And, Sutter has literally played with close to 20 wingers, which is just incredible. And I don't mind that line. Tanner Glass, listen, he doesn't bring much offensively. We all know that. But he is a legitimate physical presence, and the Penguins don't have a lot of that kind of presence in their lineup, frankly. So I don't mind him getting a regular shift on the third line. The fourth line is not very good. It's not. Craig Adams is still a pretty good penalty killer. He doesn't bring me much 5-on-5. I don't know that I like Gibbons in a playoff series, especially against bigger teams. It might not be a big deal against Columbus. I don't know that I'd want him in the lineup against the Boston Bruins, for instance. I don't love the fourth line at all, but to be honest, I don't think they're going to play that much anyway. And we kind of knew going into this, the bottom six was clearly not a strength for this team.
Yeah, you're right. The fourth line doesn't play a whole lot of minutes in really the playoffs anyways. Would you rather have a guy like Craig Adams on that fourth line, or a guy like Harry Zolnierczyk? I've loved what Harry Zolnierczyk has been able to bring this team. A lot of people were really suspicious of that signing this past offseason, but he's really kind of equated himself pretty well here in Pittsburgh, and I think he's earned some time up here. I mean, he's looked good in his the brief stints that he's had, but Craig Adams has been a train wreck 5-on-5, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get much offensively from him. My problem with the fourth line in general has been just how many goals against they've been on the ice for.
Yeah.
I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but it's just a dismal number. I mean, if you're not going to score, you better not be giving up goals either on the third and fourth lines. And listen, I have been the president of the Harry Z fan club from the day he came here. I watched him extensively in training camp and in the preseason games. I was just so impressed with this guy. He's got legitimate NHL speed. He can fly. He's really physical. He's kind of a loose cannon on the ice. And you know what? That's not the worst thing in the world. It's not a bad thing to have a little bit of an intimidation factor. And it certainly worked for Matt Cook and Chris Kunitz over the years on the forecheck. And Harry can bring that. And I've talked with a lot of people in the organization specifically about him. And basically what I've gauged about Harry Zolnierczyk, when he was in Philadelphia as a prospect and then into the NHL for a year or two with the Flyers, they didn't really teach him structure or anything about the game in general. They just said, Harry, just go out and kill people. And that's kind of what the Flyers do. And so that's what he did, and he never really learned the NHL game. And I talked to him just the other day after the Flyers game on Saturday, and he told me that this year has just been an incredible experience for him. He feels like for the first time in his career, an organization has really taken the time to teach him the finer parts of the game, and he thinks he's a much better player now than he has ever been. And do I think a guy like him could be of value on the fourth line in the playoffs? I really do, because, what have we seen from anyone on the fourth line all season? I haven't seen much. And I don't see why he doesn't get a little bit more of a chance, quite honestly, and I wouldn't be shocked if he does. I do think the Penguins like him, and I think he deserves playing time.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I would like to see him in there as well on the fourth line, see what he can do. I like the speed, and that's pretty interesting stuff there, hearing, that he's finally learning about structure in hockey, and that's just great. That's great that he's learning stuff here in the Penguins organization. Now, looking towards a little bit more towards the series now, the Columbus Blue Jackets coming into Consol tomorrow. Sergei Bobrovsky going to be in net. Obviously, he's going to have to be really, really good for the Blue Jackets to have any chance in this one. And, I could definitely see him stealing one or two games, but what are you expecting in this series? What does Columbus have to do to beat this Penguins team? Because the odds just don't look much in their favor right now, do they?
No, not at all. And, when I look at the Blue Jackets, I see a very solid NHL team, but they're really limited offensively to begin with. And when you don't have Thornton and you don't have Umberger, it looks like Foligno's out for at least the first game, and that hurts their offensive depth even more. And so you said it, that Bobrovsky needs to play the series of his life, and he has a pretty good history against the Penguins. I mean, he won the first game ever played at Consol Energy Center when we all had no clue who he was. And he's a lot like Marc-Andre Fleury physically. He's just an athletic freak of nature. He's not really a huge guy. He doesn't look real big in the net like a Luongo or someone like that. But side to side, he's really brilliant. You have to get a lot of traffic in front of him That's usually the key to beating guys like that, score some dirty goals. He has not been as good this year as he was last year in his Vezina season. But Columbus is a fairly stingy defensive team. I don't think they'll go up a ton of goals, but in all the matchups I've seen against the Penguins this year, it's just very evident that Columbus has a really difficult time producing any offense against the Penguins, and they just need to find a way to score Marc-Andre Fleury. And I don't think opening up the game is the best recipe for them, but somehow, someway, they have to score more goals because they just never can against the Penguins.
Yeah, they certainly struggled this year against the Penguins. Didn't win any of the games. But they'll be looking for their first postseason win in franchise history. They could get that if Bobrovsky has, like you said, a series of his life. But, Josh, we've talked a lot over this past year about, the Penguins being somewhat of a top-heavy team. How important is it for the Penguins to maybe, have these the first series or the second playoff series, assuming they move on? How important is it to have a short series, like a 4 or 5 games, so you have enough in the tank where, these guys aren't just banged up and really tired if you're going to face, a team like, the Rangers or, the Boston Bruins in the conference final if the Penguins make it that far. Do you think that's kind of an important element here with the series since the Penguins are just so top-heavy and are going to have to rely on the superstars like Crosby, Malkin, Neal, and Kunitz?
To some extent, yes, and history says it is. If you go back and look at every Stanley Cup winner, I actually did this one time. I got really bored one day. It took all day. If you go back to, I want to say 1970 in that range, from 1970 until present day, I think only 1 or 2 teams have ever won a Stanley Cup without having at least one series go only 4 or 5 games along the way, or if that includes Stanley Cup finals. It seems like every team that wins the Cup needs that one quick series and get that week off. And yeah, I know the week off didn't go well for the Penguins last year against Boston. But in general, you do need that break. And yes, Crosby and Malkin are going to be playing close to 25 minutes a night. And that's just the way it is. The Penguins are not going to win a Stanley Cup by rolling 4 lines. I think they're very well aware of that. So, and when you look down the road, they're going to play the Rangers or Flyers in the second round should they get past the Blue Jackets. That doesn't strike me as a quick series against either of those teams. And then there's a good chance Boston's waiting for you then. So this would certainly seem like the one to make some quick work of a team if they can. And while I do like the Blue Jackets, and I think they're a solid team, I do think things could be in place for a quick series.
Now, let's say the series doesn't go as planned, and for the Penguins, not for the Blue Jackets, of course. But let's say the Penguins end up losing in round 1. Is Dan Bylsma's job in any way in jeopardy?
Oh yeah, I have to think it is. Dan. I think Dan's work this season is underappreciated. Looking through the Penguins have had out of the lineup all season, and they still put up 109 points. That's a well-coached team. I don't care what anyone says, and Dan Bylsma is a good coach. But if they lose to the Blue Jackets in the first round, I would be surprised to see him back next season. Just because he's a good coach, I mean, sometimes good coaches aren't, right for certain teams anymore. That does happen in this game. And if he goes out, or his team goes out in the first round for the 3rd time in 4 years, boy, I just can't imagine Mario Lemieux keeping him around. I don't know that Ray Shero would want to fire him. I know Ray and Dan are really close and have a great relationship. But, this is Crosby and Malkin's prime years that we're talking about. And if you lose in the first round 3 to 4 years, I realize neither one of them played in 2011, but still, the Flyers' embarrassment 2 years ago is still fresh in everyone's mind. Scoring 2 goals in 4 games against Boston last year in a series is fresh in everyone's mind. If they would lose to the Columbus Blue Jackets, with all due respect to the Blue Jackets, no, I think some heads are going to roll. I'd be surprised, frankly, if they don't.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. This morning in practice, the power play units obviously is always a big discussion point among fans and everything like that here in Pittsburgh. And we saw Chris Letang there on the first unit, Paul Martin and Matt Niskanen on the points on the second unit. Now, a lot has been, said sometimes when, the Penguins have Letang up there instead of Martin because, Martin sort of simplifies things and passes the puck to guys like Crosby and Malkin who are a lot fancier, obviously. But when you have Letang there, he sometimes likes to do that as well. Are you okay with Letang being on that first power play unit? Obviously, he has a ton of talent, but you have Crosby and Malkin, Neal, and Kunitz there as well. It's funny because you want to put Paul Martin on that power play, but then there's so much talent there that you almost don't want to take anyone off there.
Yeah, I appreciate the idea of having a right-handed shot like Letang on the power play, but how often do they really set him up for shots on the power play anyway? Yeah. So does it even matter? And I'm a big Chris Letang supporter. Even when he was struggling earlier this season, I was one of the guys who was saying, hey, you got to be patient with this guy. This is a splendid talent. This guy's a great player. You got to stick with him, and I think he's playing much better now. But that said, he's not a quarterback on the power play. He never has been. Maybe he will be someday, but he can still drive you nuts on the power play. I find that his instincts just aren't real good. And Paul Martin, on the other hand, Martin doesn't shoot the puck hard at all, doesn't wow you with his talent, but he is a wonderful puck distributor. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I can tell you that over the last 2 or 3 years, the Penguins' power play does have a higher percentage when Paul Martin is on it, and that is not coincidental. He just knows how to find people. He always finds the open man. And let's talk about Chris Kunitz last week about that, and he told me that even though Martin doesn't fire the puck, that he has just an uncanny ability to know when to shoot the puck and how to get it through so shots don't get blocked, and that's an awfully big thing to be able to do. And I was really surprised this morning to see Letang on the top power play, with all due respect. I think it's a better look with Paul Martin, and I think it's a mistake.
Is it safe to say that Paul Martin is the Yanni Laukkanen to the Yuri Slegger for this Penguin team?
Well, I would never compare Paul Martin to Yanni Laukkanen in any way, but I know what you're saying. And yes, I mean, Martin, I don't know. He just finds a way, doesn't he, Paul Martin? He gets better and better. And it's amazing how he looked his first 2 years in the Penguins uniform. Everybody was ready to run him out of town, and my gosh, where would this team be without Paul Martin right now?
It's so similar to Sergei Gonchar and how his career kind of panned out here in Pittsburgh, isn't it?
No, yeah, it's a good point. I mean, Gonchar's first year was the first year after the last lockout, and in 2005, he was just awful that first year, and everybody's like, oh my God, Craig Patrick gave this guy 5 years, $25 million, and we know how that story ended up, so yeah, that's a valid comparison, and Paul Martin only has 1 year left on his contract after this season. That's going to be interesting, I think. I think there once was a time when it was a given that he wouldn't be back, but I'll tell you what, this guy's a heck of a player. He's still playing at his best to me. He's 33 now, I think, but man, he's not slowing down at all. I cannot say enough good things about him. I was in Winnipeg I think that was his first game back in Winnipeg. Yeah, it was a couple of weeks ago when he came back from the broken hand, and I was just blown away by the game he played that night. And he's been, frankly, really good every game, and I think he brings out the best in Brooks Orpik and vice versa. And I'm a big Paul Martin fan, and listen, I would have him on that top power play all day. I would not think twice about it.
I don't disagree with that. I definitely have him there, too. Speaking of, we're talking about defensemen and contracts, Andrew MacDonald getting the $30 million 6-year deal with the Flyers today. Matt Niskanen had to be watching that news, and probably it broke a smile a little bit, don't you think?
I would hope so. I mean, MacDonald's a good player. I think he was actually a really, really good pickup for the Flyers. He drives Sidney Crosby nuts. Crosby, he's one of the few defensemen in the league that Crosby almost goes out of his way to compliment every chance he gets. And he really thinks highly of him. So, I don't know. Maybe if you're the Flyers, it's worth it to have a guy who, drives Crosby for the next few years. But I still think that's way too much money for a guy that I think is, maybe a slightly above average NHL defenseman, but he's hardly a star. And if I'm Matt Niskanen's agent, I'm saying, 6 years, $30 million for that guy. How much money is Matt Niskanen going to get? I thought all along, he's probably earlier in the season. I thought, he's playing well. He might get $4 million a year next contract. And about halfway through the season, I thought, boy, he might push it to $5 million a year this summer. Who knows? No, I don't think it'll be much more than that. But still, it's going to be hard for the Penguins to bring him back. unless they plan on him being a fixture in the top four, because the guy has got a chance to make an awful lot of money this summer.
Josh, are you at all kind of concerned with, since the Olympic break, the Penguins haven't been really a consistently good team? They've kind of played .500 kind of hockey, and, Flower hasn't had exactly the best of games going into the playoffs. Are you at all concerned about that stretch?
A little bit. I mean, there are certain things that concern me. I wouldn't worry about Marc-Andre Fleury at all.
Mm-hmm.
I know everybody is ready to pounce on him if he plays a bad game tomorrow night, but everybody knows that that's just the way it is. Listen, the Penguins weren't mailing it in during this stretch. They were on cruise control, and they will pretty much acknowledge that at this point if you ask them. They can see the standings. They knew these games were important. That's why I say that you don't really know what to expect from the Penguins, because we haven't seen them fully engaged and fully healthy in quite some time. I have no idea how good they are. One thing that does concern me, and the biggest concern for the Penguins, I think, since the Olympic break, is the penalty killing. They were first in the league for most of the first half of the season, and it went down to number 5 by the end of the season. I believe they've given up 15 power play goals in the last 24 games, something to that effect. That's a bad number, and for a team that frankly has a tendency to take a lot of penalties, that can be a dangerous number in the playoffs. And I asked Craig Adams about that very thing this morning, and I said, what's the problem on the PK? And he said, we just can't clear the puck. He said, there's so many times we have an easy route to clear the puck, and we're just not doing it. It's killing us. And I would tend to agree with that. That sounds like a simple thing, but that can cost you an awful lot of goals. And the Penguins aren't going to win the Stanley Cup because of their 5-on-5 play. It's not bad, but it certainly isn't as good as Boston's or a number of teams in the West. If they win the Stanley Cup, they need to be dynamite on special teams. Power play has been good all year. That needs to continue, and the PK really needs to find its forms in the first half of the season.
Now, as you said, the penalty kill has really been struggling, and there's sort of been that element of, well, I guess, as Craig Adams said, they can't clear the puck. It kind of comes down to, you have your system as far as penalty killing goes, and what you're doing is with your defensive structure, but there's also a sense of urgency that hasn't been there for any of the Penguins game. And I think you even made the point a couple of weeks ago that the dangerous part about this team is that they seem to think that they can flip it on and off. Game in and game out. Have you seen, now that the games matter in the playoffs and it is time to prove themselves, did you see maybe a little bit of a different vibe today in practice?
Not really, but it's really hard to judge from practice too, so I don't take that too seriously. The battle level has not been very good for the Penguins in months now. It hasn't. Anybody who watches them play on a regular basis, I think, would agree with that. I don't blame them. They're in a situation where they had nothing to play for, and
oh yeah,
guys didn't want to get hurt, and I totally understand that. But that said, it's not easy to flip on the switch. And as superior as their talent is to the Columbus Blue Jackets, Columbus has been playing playoff hockey for 2 months. They've been playing tight, hard-fought games, pressure-filled games. The Penguins most certainly have not. So I'm interested to see what wins out in Game 1 tomorrow. Will it be the fact that Columbus has been playing all these tight games? Or will the fact that Columbus has a roster full of players who's never played an NHL playoff game before? We saw that with the Islanders last year. They were like a deer in headlights in Game 1 at Consol Energy Center. We saw with Tampa in 2011, too. They had a lot of guys who have never been in the playoffs, and obviously the Penguins have been there before, so I'm really interested to see what happens in Game 1.
Yeah, definitely, and should be an interesting series to watch. Quickly here, what are the keys for the Penguins to be successful against this Blue Jackets team? As you said, the Blue Jackets don't have a lot of postseason experience, and in order for the Penguins to be successful, the Blue Jackets, they're going to have a great work ethic, obviously, and one of the keys for the Penguins has to be to try to outwork these Blue Jackets, because the Penguins, as we've talked about many times, they're very top heavy, and the third and fourth line, they aren't great, but they're going to have to work really, really hard because when the Penguins faced the Islanders last year in the first round, many people thought that this won't be too bad, but it turned out to be a pretty good series. So what are the keys for the Penguins to be successful against Columbus?
Well, a couple of things. So the most important player in the series, in my opinion, is Evgeni Malkin. If, for whatever reason, he has a relapse with that foot injury, or he is not himself, or if he can't even play in these games, which I'm not expecting, but if something would pop up where he were not available, I think the Penguins would be vulnerable to an upset. I still think they're a better team, but I could certainly see it happening then. He is such a difference maker for them. And if he's healthy, if he's playing the way we saw him play in March before the injury, remember the game against Tampa, that Saturday afternoon game, and he was just on a different planet. If we see him anywhere close to that level, the Penguins aren't losing the series. And they might not lose the series for a while. I think he's the guy that can turn this into a 4 or 5 game series if he's in top form. So I think that's the most important thing for the Penguins, at least offensively. And I just think there needs to be a complete commitment to overall team defense. We certainly didn't see that in the playoffs 2 years ago against Philadelphia, but if there is, I just can't imagine Columbus being able to manufacture that much offense to beat the Penguins. Look at the games this season. They've all been fairly close, even though they're 5-0 against Columbus. But the Blue Jackets just can't score against them. And if the Penguins continue to play well defensively in front of Fleury, I think that will continue.
What is the key to the experience in the Columbus Arena District for visiting Penguins fans or for media types who might be spending some more time in Columbus than just one regular season stop in a day?
Well, there is a Brazilian steakhouse right beside the rink, which I strongly recommend. Mm-hmm. And in fact, you may see myself and Rob Rossi there, perhaps for a pregame lunch, perhaps for a late dinner. Who knows? There's no shortage of Tim Hortons if you like that kind of thing. There's certainly no shortage of bars, no shortage of hotels. It's just a wonderful area, and it goes back to the Brazilian steakhouse. Though it's kind of a famous place right beside the rink. You can't miss it, and strongly recommended. And I know there will be plenty of Pittsburghers there, and I'm sure we will run into some of them there.
I will be one of them. It's some point out there.
Well, Josh, we thank you once again for coming on tonight. But before we go, we got to have a prediction, right? So what do you predict here in this series? I know you tweeted out earlier, but I guess explain your prediction and everything like that.
Yeah, I'm going Pens in 5. I know that's so cliche. I think that's what everyone's picking. But
that's what I'm doing.
I think it's going to be low-scoring games. I think Columbus might steal a game in Pittsburgh early in the series. It wouldn't shock me. But I just can't see Columbus producing enough offense. And Bobrovsky is not playing at the level that he was last year. And the biggest thing for me, guys, I watched Evgeni Malkin practice this morning. He was flying. I mean, he looked unbelievable. He's not hurt. I mean, he was hurt, but he's feeling fine now. He couldn't have been in any pain with the way he was skating today. And he and Crosby are just really, really motivated. And I can't imagine the Blue Jackets beating them. So I think I don't see a lot of blowouts in this series. I think good hockey is like an overtime game or two wouldn't shock me. But Penguins are just a better team, and I think they'll wrap it up pretty quickly.
Now, we have Paige Lewis on as well. Paige, how you doing tonight?
Hey, guys. How are you? Hi.
Very good, very good. What is,
Hi. How are you? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Perfect.
What is your prediction for this series? We'll get that out of the way here real quick.
Pens in Columbus?
Yeah, Pens in Columbus.
Pittsburgh in 6.
6.
I'm going to give Columbus the benefit of the doubt. After seeing them, because the Panthers played them, it was their last game of the season, going in that locker room, man, they were so pumped. Just listening to all of them, just laughing. Ryan Johansson was just on fire, and Cam Atkinson, just their quotes were unbelievable. They were pumped. And, I think it's going to come down to Sergei Bobrovsky. I think that's going to be what it is between Ryan Johansson and him. But I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think Pittsburgh's a much better team, but I don't know. Just the way they were in that locker room, they're so excited, and I think that's going to motivate them a bit. But the Pens are going to win it, I hope.
If Columbus manages to win 2 games in the series, my life is going to be such a living hell.
You have to call off work for like 2 weeks.
I know.
If they win 1 game, everything's going to go crazy.
Probably. That's how it goes.
Yes, it is. Well, hey, Josh, we thank you once again for coming on. You were great again tonight. Always a pleasure having you on, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you here soon.
Gentlemen, it's always a pleasure. Let's do it again, and you are in good hands with the lovely Miss Lewis. Take it away, Paige.
Bye, Josh.
Look at that.
Thanks,
what
Josh.
a nice transition.
Yeah.
Thank you. Very nice.
Not only a transition, I think he put her in charge. Jeez.
Yeah, you're the host now, Paige. So
All
take
right,
it away.
Paige, what are we talking about?
I don't know, guys. What do you want to talk about? How's Marcel Gott?
Oh, God, you dropped the ball.
Freaking dead.
What?
Yeah, what? You sent us damaged goods.
Oh,
up
I'm
with that?
sorry.
Yeah, what the heck?
Hey, congrats, by the way, on your team being totally awful and getting the lottery pick.
Yeah, it's fun. It's good. It's good. It sucks that it had to happen this year, and it could have happened next year.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah.
you realize you're supposed to win the lottery next year, right?
Yeah, but
There's still time.
if we're in a position next year, the same position that we're in now, I might not be with the Panthers. So let's just hope that doesn't happen next year. So.
Well,
Is there an Alexander Barkov in this draft?
No. Kasperi Kapanen is someone that, honestly, I wouldn't mind taking. He's going to fall pretty
Malkin?
far, though. But he's a big, strong right winger, exactly what we need.
You just like Scandinavians.
I like the Finns.
Gotta love the Finns.
So where do the Panthers go from here? Obviously, there's the draft part of things, but what's the silver lining? If you are meeting with the team, sending them off to their summer breaks, what's the message that you're sending to them as they go into the off season?
Get ready to get pumped for next season because things are going to happen this summer. I'm not joking. These owners they want to win. They want to win immediately. So that's kind of the goal. Get these guys ready, get everyone conditioned well for next year because these guys want to go to the playoffs as soon as next year. I think things are really going to happen this summer. Free agency, Dale already said that there's going to be about possibility of getting 5 UFAs. It's going to be interesting to see who. I think they're probably going to focus on defensemen. And as far as the draft lottery, too, I don't know if we keep that first pick. So
Yeah.
it's going to be very interesting. It's like I said, these guys are not taking not making the playoffs next year. And these guys have money and they've given Dale the green light to spend.
It turned out so well for you guys last time, right? You got the first overall pick and traded it to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Stop.
So you never know.
No, the thing is, everyone expects us to take Aaron Ekblad. And Aaron Ekblad's great, but how many times have the Panthers, how many times have the Panthers taken a defenseman, with their selection, their first round selection? Keaton Ellerby, bust, didn't work out. You're still dealing with Dmitry Kulikov. We have no idea when this kid is finally going to develop. He was supposed to be a stud, just like Aaron Ekblad's supposed to be a stud. Cooley had 62 points in 50 games when he was in the QMJHL. Ekblad, he has 50 and 50. Are you worried? That's my question. I'm worried about taking another defenseman that high up. To me, a team like Edmonton, who really could use. Why are you laughing?
No, I just because you're reading my mind because I was thinking the Edmonton Oilers sure could use another first round draft pick, but they could also use a defenseman. So there's your market right there.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and not Nail Yakupov, please no. But there's another forward named Jordan Eberle who was also in talks of you heard rumblings of they might trade him and blah blah blah. If you could trade your first round pick and maybe get rid of, a guy like Alex Petrovic, who's a shutdown defenseman, nuts. This guy's nuts. I don't care for him for what we're kind of trying to do. We already have our nuts defenseman and Eric Goodbranson. I think, though, that you could trade maybe your first, maybe a Quentin Howden and an Alex Petrovic, and maybe even your 32nd pick for Jordan Eberle and their third pick. And now you have options. Now you have, I think it would be great. You need someone with Alexander Barkov. You have to get someone with this kid. This kid has so much damn talent, and the only way it's going to be utilized is if he has, really great people next to him, not named Sean Bergenheim.
Hey, we'll take Bergenheim next year.
If Jordan Eberle somehow ends up in Florida, I think the Florida Panthers officially become my second favorite Eastern Conference team.
Yes.
And I want so bad for that kid to be a part of a winner, and it's just not, I don't think it's going to happen in Edmonton, at least not the way things are currently structured. And obviously, unless there's a big shake-up, and there's going to have to be.
They ruined themselves by taking the best player available, and getting Nail Yakupov was the dumbest thing they could have done.
Mm-hmm.
You need D. Like, what are you guys doing? And that's why I think they really need to get Ekblad. And not to say that we do not need defensemen. We do. Of course we do. But people are also forgetting we do have some pretty good guys, defensemen, in our prospect pool, in Mike Matheson, and Ian McCoshen is so underrated. Like, this guy's going to be so good. Mackenzie Weegar, who's killing it right now with the Halifax Mooseheads, and you have Joshua Brown. So we have a good, solid. Are these guys going to be 1-2s? Maybe not. But I also think that you could maybe trade for a defenseman this year. So, I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities, but if you can get Jordan Eberle, don't pass up on it.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about defensemen.
How much are the Edmonton Oilers?
I was just going to ask.
I was just going to say, how much are they? Oh God, go for it! You the man. No, you the man. You're getting paid for this right now.
Yeah. I am. What?
Sure you are.
But Paige, I was just going to ask. You need to talk about the defenseman. You certainly don't need a goaltender now with Roberto Luongo in the fold. I mean, this guy, he's amazing on Twitter, but it has to be nice to have him back there in Florida as well.
Oh, thank God! Yeah. He's awesome. He's exactly what we needed, not just goaltending-wise, but like you said, how he is on Twitter, just how he is in general. We don't get a lot of coverage, and the coverage we do get is negative coverage. It's usually for our attendance or because of the plexiglass thing that happened, or just stupid little things like that everyone in Canadian media has to nitpick us. And we understand. Yeah. I mean, I get it. It sucks, and we don't want to be that team anymore, but you know what? Whatever. But Luongo gives us that chance to finally, he's our positive light now. Like, everyone loves this guy. If you hate him, you're stupid. Like, there's no reason to hate this guy. Roberto Luongo is awesome. Everyone in the locker room loves him. And it's also good because we have Dan Ellis, and Dan Ellis hasn't been great this year, even though he's only played, 6 games, but, he's been terrible. But our D has been atrocious, and Brian Campbell and Dmitry Kulikov are 1-2. That's not a good pairing. That's not what you want on a team. So, hopefully next year, free agency's coming up. Hopefully you can grab some good, shut-down, steady defensive defensemen, maybe a guy like Willie Mitchell for a year. I know he's aging, he's 36, but maybe you can get a guy like that, or a Matt Green, or
I'd give you Brooks Orpik and Simone Dupre for that first.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can have both.
But honestly, if Pittsburgh decides to keep Matt Niskanen, obviously they're not going to be able to re-sign Brooks Orpik. I would not mind getting Brooks Orpik. I know he's your whipping post right now. Oh, I know he's everyone's whipping post right now, but I think he could help Eric Goodbranson in a positive way. I
don't think he's as much of a whipping post right now as Rob Scuderi is. So we'll give him that.
Okay. You guys have to have one whipping post.
We've got 2.
We have a bunch.
And Craig Adams, 2.5.
So yeah, definitely Luongo has changed everything, and it's going to be, it's people are going to maybe want to come here now. Maybe UFAs want to come here and say, hey, and we have money. We have an owner that actually is like, hey, we'll give you guys money, rather than our previous owner who was like, nah, we're good. Let's just draft really well. So it's refreshing.
And you have weather that doesn't blow chunks.
False. It rains every day here over the summer.
It snowed here.
Oh, yeah, whatever.
It's April 15th.
Ken just went Lewis Black on all of us.
Whoa. It's still snowing?
Yeah.
It's stopped now, but it's cold enough to snow. I'm sitting in my car I have to intermittently put my heater on because it's too cold to just sit out here on April 15th. Like freezing and doing my taxes at the same time.
Ken's always doing the show from his car in downtown Columbus.
I believe it's close to 90 degrees here right now.
Oh, well,
yeah, we
awesome.
hate you.
Robbie, good luck. Sucks to be Paige Lewis.
Oh, wait, no, I lied. It's 76.
Oh.
Okay. But, hey, what is your take on Strombone? Do you like this Twitter persona? I think everybody kind of likes the personality. It's fun to talk about. But having him actually on your team, still talking about the old girlfriend, the Vancouver Canucks and making jokes at their expense and that sort of thing. Do you just kind of want him to move on and focus on the team that he's playing for now? Like, if this continues in the next season, is it going to bother you?
Yeah, if it continues next year, I think it's like, all right, come on, get over it. But, come on, it's still fresh. That team screwed him over so badly. I don't think he's really doing it maliciously to be a jerk. Like, I think he's still buddies with everyone over there. I think it's for laughs. Everyone knows he's quirky. He's joking around. Right now, it's funny. Like, the 15% tweet was the best thing ever. And I thought it was perfect timing because it's just like, okay, the season's winding down. Let me just get one good tweet in. And he did. And he got his one good tweet in, but he still jokes around with Eddie Lack. And you can tell he's still close with everyone. And everyone respects that guy. If it happens next year, yeah, it's okay, Lou. It's calm down. It's over. But I don't know. I think it's funny. I don't know. I hope it lasts maybe for a few more, maybe one or two more tweets. But I don't think you'll see it for too much longer.
Have you seen James Duffy hanging around?
No, it is. I hate to say that it's him, but it's him, guys.
I think Sochi proved that, but
yeah, it's him. It's him. His brother-in-law actually owns this place called Amici's. It's an Italian restaurant that's like walking distance from my house. His brother-in-law, Gina's husband, his wife, Gina, or brother, I'm sorry. And I asked him, and he just kind of was just like coy with me and like smirked. I'm like, okay, so it's him. So it's him. It's totally him. I don't know if he has someone else on the side that also does it, but whoever it is, they're both hilarious. So
if James Duffy is picking up checks from Roberto Luongo for running his social media, that's Roberto Luongo is an entity and an enterprise unlike any other player that we've seen in this day.
Oh, yeah. Did you guys hear that he's going to be on TSN?
Wait, Luongo is?
Yes, for the playoffs.
You're shitting me.
For the first round of the playoffs, he's doing TSN with Duffy.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sign me up. I need to get a real TV.
Seriously, I'm so excited.
Must-watch TV right there.
That's the end of me watching hockey on my laptop.
Got to start up a Kickstarter for Ken's TV.
Yeah, forward me the money.
That'll be good for us. Good exposure. Did you see his tweets tonight about the draft lottery? So good.
Oh, yeah.
Luongo?
Yeah.
Oh, God, hold on. Continue the show. I'll catch up.
Strombone 1. Let me see this. I can't believe you didn't see it.
Well,
I was going to do it.
On Twitter much today.
One of them is 690 players, 30 teams, 14 qualifiers, but there's only one goal, one night only. Hashtag we live for this. Hashtag NHL Draft Lottery.
Oh, okay. So he wrote to TSN Bob McKenzie. He said, "Hey Bob, I'll slide you a 5 in a couple of weeks when I see you. You know what to do." That was before the draft lottery. Well, then we won it, and he said, "Geez, Bob, I was only kidding. You can get fired for this kind of thing."
At what point is he going to get in trouble for something? It's like really the tweet whenever they beat Dallas. I was thinking about that. I'm like, man, if that were on the other way around and they lost to Dallas and somehow that affected Vancouver's chances of making the playoffs or not or anything like that, that's getting to Pete Rose kind of territory, whether there's any money being exchanged or not.
Yeah, but that's what makes it so funny because I think he's smart enough to know when to tweet when you tweet the proper thing. No, I think it's going to come down to, probably our PR staff. What do they think? But I don't think you can't tell him to stop. It's Luongo.
Too good.
He's going to be our first, the very first jersey retirement we have. It's going to be him. He's a legend here.
Please don't ever stop him from making tweets like the key to great business is all about product placement. Am I right, U.S. Airways?
Oh, my God, that was awesome.
That was a good one, too.
Oh, he's so good. So are you guys confident in Penguins?
Oh, yeah, them.
This Penguins.
Their draft?
No. What the fuck? No, the playoffs. Are you guys confident?
I wish I could say I'm confident, but maybe that's a good thing that I'm not. Because the past couple of years I have been, and we've all seen really how that's kind of worked out. But this year, a little more apprehensive. I do think they'll be fine through the first round, but I'm not so sure after that. It's kind of like I'm taking a wait-and-see approach, I guess.
Yeah, they've played so much meaningless hockey for the past few weeks. We just don't know what to expect and what to see if they can, we said earlier, put on that, turn the switch on, I guess, is the right word to say there.
At least you're in the playoffs. That's a way to look at it, I guess.
Possibly.
Really, yeah.
I'll say this much. You know who is not confident about the playoffs?
Who?
Columbus Blue Jackets fans.
No?
Because truthfully, I was expecting a lot of trash talk and all that. And if the Blue Jackets win a game in this series, I know I'm going to hear it. But right now, at this point, they're like, why does it have to be the Penguins?
No.
Of all the
it
teams,
could have been Boston.
I think they see another 4-game sweep. They see another series where they won't even have the lead like it was the last time against the Red Wings. I think they see this playoff series going down the exact same way. I keep telling them, I don't know what team's going to show up. I don't know if we can go a week without a player having some type of strange, bloodborne pathogen going through the locker room or something. I hope everyone's wearing their shower shoes after every game because, they might not be cleaning out those stalls.
I'm at least happy that, since Pittsburgh's obviously my other team in the East, that, at least they are playing Columbus because, I don't have, a complete hatred for Columbus. I have a complete hatred for the Flyers and a complete hatred for Boston. So it's if Columbus does upset them, it's okay. I might even root for Columbus the rest of the way. So,
Actually,
I think I'll be okay.
I was really excited for Columbus once they kind of got that matchup with Pittsburgh because it's finally given them a chance to have kind of a natural rivalry kind of form. We've all seen the invasions over the past 4 or 5 years where Pens fans just completely take over their arena. They've been pretty upset about that, and how they've kind of conducted themselves have been pretty classy overall. Maybe not to Ken, but towards every other Pens fan, maybe. But it's kind of nice to be able to see what that's... it's nice to see what's going to happen here. If they're going to kind of defend the NWA, or if they're going to be able to just give us 7 home games.
Do the Penguin smash.
We
need to get that out again. Well, hey guys, usually on Mondays we've for the past few weeks
on to the show from that night and record it from crappy Blog Talk Radio or something.
Oh God.
You guys are all cutting out right now.
Yeah, Ken's going crazy.
Overload.
Someone's a robot.
I
don't know which one. Who's going to the draft? You guys are going to the draft, right? One of you? 2 of you?
Probably.
I don't know. Maybe.
Go! I'm going! We could do a jumbo podcast, everyone.
Yeah, live.
Jumbo podcast?
Do it. You know that Merrick versus Shinsky thing that they did? Screw it. We'll do Pens Nation and Panther Parkway. We'll get way more people.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean way less, but still.
No, it'll be better. It'll be more
It'll just
fun
be
anyway.
worth it to see Ken tanked.
There won't be people like Tyler Dello there.
No comment. Bad. I got called the B word by about 7 to 8 people today.
Oh, geez.
Bruins?
Wait, did you go at it toe to toe with Dello in Dello Nation?
No, I did not go toe to toe. No, Dello went toe to toe with me. I did not go to toe to.
That's how it works because he searches his goddamn name.
I had Dello blocked. I've never talked about him. I had him blocked for like 2 months, but he somehow managed to weasel his way into my life. But no, because I said suck it Canada because I thought Toronto was honestly going to get the first pick. So I said suck it Canada, joking around, but Western Canada did not find it funny. Little did they know my son is Canadian and my boyfriend is Canadian, but that's fine. All fun and games. It happens. Good times.
Well, for the past few weeks on this show, we've been predicting the possible playoff series, but now we actually have the actual matchups, so we don't need to stress out of if it's going to happen, because it is going to happen. So we're going to go ahead and go through all these series real quick, get some predictions here before the postseason actually starts. Well, we all pretty much talked about Penguins and Blue Jackets. I said Pens in 5. What do you say, Ken? Pens in what?
Ken's dead.
Pens in 0. Okay.
Jackets in...
No way.
There's my prediction.
Jackets in 10.
Oh, boy. I said Pens in 6.
Yeah, Ken, you're done.
I just think we need an over-under on how many Pens fans are going to jump bridges if and when there's a goal scored against the Penguins in the first period.
I drank a quarter of a bottle of Crown Royal in Tampa when Pittsburgh lost Game 6 in 2011. So, because I flew up for that game. I had every right to be pissed off.
Yeah.
Oh, we were there too.
Wait, you were in Pittsburgh?
No, Game 6. Tampa. I was in Tampa.
No.
Oh, you flew up to 10.
I drove to Games 3 and 4, and then flew back up for 6 when it went to 6.
Gotcha. Well,
so
I don't think I've ever seen all of us in a more sad state than at the expiration of Game 7. It was me, Andy, Depto, and Nick looking pretty pale for about 45 minutes after that game, and then we walk out to rainfall trying to do a podcast on the phone via Blog Talk Radio.
It was awful.
Those are the days.
Terrible. Talk about missing the playoffs for 11 years straight. Finally going to the playoffs against the New Jersey Devils, against your ex-coach. Okay? And then losing in double OT in Game 7 when everyone said we were going to get swept. When you're 8 months pregnant. Try that one. And then I had a baby a week later.
He does that every day.
It was a terrible day.
You don't even know misery.
So I think the Pens
will
are
never
going
know
to
the
sweep
pain of David
you
Bullock.
guys.
Easton knows several other pains, so it's fine. He's a Panther fan.
I say the Pens in 4 or 6.
That's weird. Who do you think wins?
Since we're doing predictions.
The Rangers or the Flyers? What do you...
Say Rangers in 7.
Yeah, I'll say Rangers.
I say Rangers in 7 too.
Ken?
Yeah, there's a series. No, there's a...
Ken, this is excruciating.
Robot, Ken.
Cyborg will.
Good.
He turned into Chewbacca now.
Games is this. Oh, do I have to pick a team?
Yes.
Is that why you're mad at me?
No, you're just a
Sound like a
robot
robot
right now.
Oh, I'm talking like a robot?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
You're good now, though.
The gist was, it's going to be a good series. How do you like that? No, I'm looking forward to this one way more than I am the Penguins and Blue Jackets, to be quite honest, because it's going to be knockout, drag-out, playoff hockey to its finest. I will take the Flyers over the Rangers, though.
Ooh. So Ken takes the Flyers. Nick and Paige take the Rangers. next one, Tampa Bay and Montreal. Ben Bishop not going to be available for Game 1. I think that makes a difference. So
Montreal.
Yeah.
I take Montreal.
I was going to say Montreal in 6.
I say 6. If Carey Price gets hot, there's no way. Because, if Ben Bishop's not ready, I don't care for Lindback.
No.
And I don't care what anyone says. Their D sucks. Outside of Hedman, I don't like their D. Actually, I don't like Hedman either, but that's a different discussion. So, but I'm not a fan of their D, and their D mixed with Lindback, I don't. Mm-mm. So, unless Pallett's awesome.
Yeah. He's a good player.
Which he is awesome, and he is my vote for the Calder, but everyone yells at me for that.
Now, are they reseeding? Kind of, how does the second round go?
No, there's no reseeding, which is hilarious to me. And it didn't end up working this way in the Eastern Conference, but say the Penguins would have ended up playing the Detroit Red Wings. Mm-hmm. Technically, that second round is supposed to be the division championship. That's why all this bullshit about the Metropolitan Division champions regular season thing. No, that's not the way it was done in the Patrick Division, and that's how they're trying to restructure this playoff thing. They wanted to bring that idea back. So the second round is the divisional championships, although it could have been Pittsburgh or the Red Wings versus the Flyers for the Metropolitan Division. That was a possibility. That's the thing about these wild cards. Now, you do have that possibility in the West still.
So, essentially, you could have the Bruins versus the Canadiens for the championship there, for the division championship, and then you could have the Pens versus the Flyers. That
Correct.
Doesn't get any better.
That would be ideal for everybody involved.
Not me. I don't want to see the Pens and the Flyers.
I do.
I don't. I've had enough stress this year with the Panthers. I don't need more.
To me, there is nothing. There's nothing that will get people in this city, the city of Pittsburgh, feeling better about the Penguins or feeling good about the Penguins, really, for the first time since 2012, than actually beating the Flyers in the playoffs. Short of winning the Stanley Cup, and even that might not do it for everybody. There is still such a bitter taste in everyone's mouth in that series, and it needs to go away.
I agree with that.
I think the Canadiens in 6 games.
Oh, thank you. A parliamentarian keeping us on track, Nick Richter. I will. I'm with you. I've got the Habs taking this series if Bishop cannot play and be up to his thing. The only wild card is the fact that the Habs have been just as streaky, if not more so, than the Penguins, and they have less talent to make up for that streakiness. Mm-hmm. So if they hit a skid, then we could be looking at the Bolts moving on. But I do think that the Canadiens will pull it off in this first round.
So we all take the Canadiens.
Yep.
The next series, Boston and the Detroit Red Wings. I think Boston is obviously the superior team here, but it is Detroit, so I think I do think they'll scare them a little bit, but I do think Boston will take this. So I'll say Bruins in 6. What do you guys think?
I say Bruins in 7. I think Babcock is a better coach than Julian. So
Good coaching battle.
Yeah, it is. But I think he has the slight edge, and I also think that if Datsuk can get things going, and they said that Zetterberg might not be ready for round 2, but if they somehow bring it to 6 games and Zetterberg comes back, that could be huge for them. So I don't know. I think the Bruins are going to win it, but I'd like to see.
Could be.
I think I'd like to see 7 games.
I'm going to say Bruins in 5. I just think that they're just way too deep, and there's too much for a team like Detroit to kind of handle at this point in Detroit's kind of stage of development right now. They're a bit of an older team now, and not saying Detroit's a young chicken. They've got guys like Char and stuff like that too, but I just think too much experience. They're too good right now. They're too deep, and I think that's going to go only 5 games.
All right. Move on.
I have Red Wings in 4, and you know why?
Because you're crazy.
It's because Boston peaked too early. They made the cardinal sin, and they went ahead and peaked too early, so they clearly can't have any postseason success. No wins for Boston in the playoffs.
And they're only going to score 2 goals.
Yep, that's it.
All they're going to score.
In all seriousness, Boston in 5. I think Red Wings, they've given it all this season. They've had a rough go at it, but they are worn down. Even the guys who have been hurt, who are starting to get a little bit more healthy, they're not 100%. They're far from 100% coming back into this lineup. This is a beaten-up team, and Nyquist can't carry them forever.
Well, we all go with Boston there. Let's move to the Western Conference now. Colorado Avalanche, Patrick Waugh's team against the Minnesota Wild. I saw Josh Yohe predicted the Wild to win this one. I have the Colorado winning it. I like what they have. No disrespect to the Wild, but I don't know. I like the young talent on that Avalanche team. Varlamov has been really good in goal, and Patrick Waugh is, got to be up there for the Jack Adams Award this year. I'll take the Avalanche. I think they can win this one in 6 games. Paige, what do you think? Avalanche or Wild?
I'm saying the Avalanche too, but I'm also probably saying them in 6 games. I'm going to give the Wild a few games just because, again, just like Tampa, I don't like their D. Outside of Tyson Barrie, I'm not the biggest fan of Eric Johnson, but Semyon Varlamov is so good, and he's my Vezina pick. I have him over Tuukka Rask. And then Patrick Waugh's done an excellent job. As much as I don't like him, he's done a wonderful job. He is probably going to win the Jack Adams. And then they have Ryan O'Reilly, who's so underrated. He's top 5, not top 5 literally in the league, but my top 5. I think he's extraordinary. And then, if Nathan McKinnon can stay hot, Paul Stastny, obviously they're going to miss Matt Duchene, so that's going to hurt them a bit. But I like them over the Wild, but I also think that the Wild could give them some problems. And if Brizgalov could play as well as he's been playing down the stretch, they could give him a shot.
It's not fair because your top 5 consists of, Tanner Glass, Taylor
No,
Pyatt.
that's Jameson's top 5. He's like my top 6.
Top 6. I love it. I'm going to actually say the Wild here, only because I think that the Avalanche are an awful possession team, and Matt Duchene's not expected to be back, I think, for at least part of this series, and that's going to be a big part of, he's a big part of their possession, play, and he's not going to be a key figure in that. I think that the Wild, they're going to be able to kind of win with a little more experience too. You guys, Zach Parise having playoff Stanley Cup Finals experience. You've got Ryan Suter being Ryan Suter. He's going to be phenomenal. I just like the way this kind of is shaping up for Minnesota. I wouldn't have expected them to win, but when you just look at the numbers and look at the Corsi and all that, just you start to see how flawed that Colorado actually is, and I think that's going to actually play into the hands of the underdog kind of team in the Minnesota Wild. So I think they're going to end up pulling out a little upset here in round 1.
I've got Colorado because Patrick Waugh is the scariest mofo behind the bench of Mike Keenan.
He's already threatened them. So three of us take the Avalanche, 1 take the Wild. We'll see what happens.
I would not want to go into that.
I think Patrick Waugh is in Ken's car right now.
Yeah, I think he just beat him up or something.
What's going on?
Well, I don't know where Ken went, but we're gonna have to move on. St. Louis Blues and Chicago.
He's holding a gun. What?
And there he's back.
Oh, I heard it was a gun.
He just had a huge pause, and then he started talking again. But
St. Louis, the robot, was it me?
What?
Whatever.
Yeah, you just cut out. You cut out for a while.
That's Patrick Waugh.
The only thing I heard was he's got a gun.
St. Louis Blues and Chicago Blackhawks. Boy, this is going to be another really good series. St. Louis Blues are, for a while there, were considered, a favorite in the West there, but now they're playing a really good Chicago team who's trying to defend the Cup, and the Blues have been trending downwards here in recent weeks. So this one was a tough one just because I love the way the Blues play, but I'm going to go with the Blackhawks. I think they're going to take this one, have, just a ton of talent, and they have the experience, obviously, the past few years, and, the Blues have been in the playoffs before, too, but maybe I just don't like the way they've been playing recently, so I'll say the Blackhawks in 6. I really thought I was going to have the Blues go far, but this matchup, I don't like it for them based on what I've seen in the past few weeks.
Yeah, I'm going to say the Blackhawks in 7. Obviously, St. Louis took the series this year, but St. Louis may also be without T.J. Oshie. Very good player. I mean, him and David Backes are awesome. Backes is still got the Petrangelo and Shattenkirk and Backes and, Ryan Miller. If Ryan Miller gets hot, I'm hoping for 7 games. I think that's going to be such a good series. I think whoever makes it out alive of that series is going to lose the next round because I just think it's going to be a tiring series for both teams. But Chicago's getting Patrick Kane back, and they're going to get Taves back. So I cannot bet against Chicago. But yeah, if you would have told me 3 weeks ago, I would have told you that I would have probably taken St. Louis in 5. But now that they're trending down, so they've been bad. I can't root for. I can't see them beating Chicago anymore.
Yeah, I'm going to say, this should be the Western Conference Final, and I'm going to say that again in a couple minutes here, but this is a phenomenal series. This is going to be, like Paige said, a knockdown drag-out, but I don't think it's going to last as long as a lot of people think it will. I think this is going to be the Blackhawks in 5, and I just think that they've got too much experience. They're going to have a fresh Taves and a fresh Kane come in, and that's going to make a huge difference in the way that St. Louis has been trending lately. It's not looking pretty there. Right now, they're looking like the new Vancouver Canucks / San Jose Sharks to me, where they've got these powerhouse teams in the regular season, but then they just really can't find a way to piece it all together and win the whole thing. They've got enough talent to, but they just haven't been able to do that. And I don't see it happening against the Blackhawks right now.
Since the Red Wings have moved to the Eastern Conference, the Blackhawks have almost assumed their role as the patriarchs of the West, that team that you just don't bet against. And I think that's kind of what it comes down to in this series. Is it a little convenient that every team, including the Penguins, just seems to be getting all this so healthy as the playoffs begin and start? And not to say that Kane and Taves weren't actually hurt, or that Tarasenko wasn't hurt all this time, and Tomas Hertl wasn't down, but there are a lot of guys who are getting ready to come back into the lineup right as the playoffs are beginning, whether they're 100% or not. Whatever, but that is certainly how the playoffs work. But this year, it seems to be a little bit more pronounced than usual.
Yeah, there's a lot more asset management, I think, in this. Okay, you got a few guys that's kind of banged up a bit. Let's hold them out a little bit longer and make sure that they're ready to go for the playoffs. And these guys, especially when you look at a guy like Evgeni Malkin, yeah, he's been injured, but he wants to play in the playoffs. And if he's 100% or not, he's going to say he's 100%, and he's going to go in. So I think you're seeing a little mix of both the asset management as well as the guys just chomping at the bit to play playoff hockey. But it is ironic.
Yeah, it is. Should be a great series. Next up, Anaheim Ducks and the Dallas Stars. Anaheim. This one, I give props to Dallas for making the playoffs, but I don't like this matchup at all for them. I just think Anaheim has the edge in almost everything on here. I mean, the goaltender, even John Gibson. I mean, it's unbelievable. The young goaltender, John Gibson, they have him just waiting to play. And so, obviously they have Getzlaf and Perry. They've been having unreal seasons, and they do have Bruce Boudreau as the coach, but I do think they'll be able to take this series pretty easily. I'm going to say the Ducks. I'll say the Ducks in 5. I don't see Dallas being able to compete with the Ducks. I like what Dallas has. But again, I just don't like the matchup for the Stars.
I'm going to say the Ducks in 6. Towards the end of the season, Getzlaf really wasn't doing much. That could be a problem for them if that kind of trend kind of continues. He didn't have many points down the stretches in the last 2 weeks. He kind of stuck at that 80 plus mark for a bit. And I think Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn, they're so damn good together. So I think you could have a bit of an issue, Dallas, for them, but it's just the Ducks got it all. Like, they have everything. I mean, even if Getzlaf sucks, they still have Perry, and they're 4 lines deep. You know, they have good goaltending. Hiller could be an issue because he was struggling a bit, but I still think they got it overall. So yeah, Anaheim in 6.
I'm going to say Stars in 7. For some reason, I'm just getting this feeling that I don't see Solane's final kind of year ending the way that they would like it to. I think it's going to end in some disappointment. Unfortunately, I wish him all the best because I think the guy is just a classy guy and one of the best players of all time. But I just see Dallas kind of raining on his parade right here, and that's going to be that.
How dare you, Nick?
Sorry.
How dare you?
I love the guy. He's my favorite all-time non-Penguin. But
Wait, who was this, Timu?
Yeah.
Oh,
Of course,
But I just don't see it happening.
he's a Finn. I love him. Him and Barkov on a line together in the Olympics. It was great. It was wonderful.
Hey,
For the
respect dream.
What? You said such a perfect set.
I have no idea what you're saying. You're totally cutting out.
But I have to give my prediction, so we're going to make off with a segue. But I have to give my prediction and ruin it. My prediction is, forget it. Give the Dallas Stars their participation trophy. Send them along the way. Congratulations, Tyler Seguin. You're a player again who people care about. But Ducks in 4.
Wow, harsh.
Participation medal for the Dallas Stars.
There's the segue. Take it away.
Okay. Last and final series. This one is going to be insane. The San Jose Sharks and the Los Angeles Kings. Exactly. We need that Jaws theme. We used to have that back in the Blog Talk Radio days. But I mean, this one is going to be unreal. Going to be similar to Rangers and Flyers. I think it'll be even more than that, actually, just because these are two Western Conference powerhouses, and they play a very tough style, both of them, and going to be really, really fun to watch. I'm going to take the Kings in 7. This is one of those ones where I feel like almost everyone is going to pick 7 games just because, both of these teams are great. This is another one that could be like a conference final matchup, but it's going to be a first-round matchup instead. But I like the Kings. They obviously know how to play this time of the year, and Jonathan Quick's a great goaltender. San Jose have a great team. It's unfortunate because they've had such a great season, and they're always called underachievers and things like that, and losing in the first round, I mean, it's not fair to them with this matchup, but it is what it is. I'll take the Kings in 7.
Can I pass on picking? I feel like it's just either Sharks in 7 or Kings in 7. Like, I can't choose. Like,
it's hard.
I know. Like,
flip a coin.
I've been thinking this. I mean, they got Hurdle back, but it's like, is he going to do a lot? I don't know. Obviously, I think Jonathan Quick is the better playoff goaltender, I should say, out of these two. I still, Los Angeles Kings offense, I don't trust it, even with the addition of Gaborik. Joe Pavelski's been so good. He's been so hot lately, and I almost want to see. I want to see Joe Thornton go far. So I'm going to take the San Jose Sharks in 7. So there we go.
Yeah, I am too. I'm going to say the Sharks kind of end up coming out on top here. I don't know why, but that's just kind of what I'm thinking here. Sharks in 7 as well.
I am going to go with the Sharks as well. They are my Western Conference favorites. I love the Sharks. Joe Pavelski, Patrick Marleau, and the one and only Tommy Wingles led me to my fantasy championship this year.
Woo!
Wow.
So
there you go.
So I will give the Sharks a love and say Sharks in 6. This is it because all the games we can watch them all.
I think Ken just said he was making love to a shark.
I heard something like that.
Sound like he was singing something.
Okay, the Spark notes my prediction. Sharks in 4. No, shoot. Sharks in 6. Good game. All games at 10. I want to make out with Tommy Wingles.
See, I feel the same way about Mark Edward Vlasic, so that's good.
Well, that'll do it for our matchups.
Where's
Penguins and Blue Jackets tomorrow night at Consol. Gold Rush Day, Gold Out, whatever you want to call it. We'll be back on the air on Thursday night, so be sure to join us again. We'll be recapping Wednesday's game, and we'll look forward to Saturday's game at Consol, which will be Game 2. For Paige Lewis, Nick Richter, Robot Ken Will, and Josh Yohe, I'm Andy Hughes. We thank you for joining us here on the Pens Nation Radio Show. Buckle up, baby. Here come the playoffs.
Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here.
Just as I thought it was going all right, I found out I'm wrong when I thought it was right. It's always the same, it's just a shame, that's all. I could say day and you'd say night. Tell me it's black when I know that it's white. Always the same, it's just a shame, and that's all. I could leave but I won't go, though my heart might tell me so. I can't feel a thing from my head down to my toes. But why does it always seem to be me looking at you with you looking at me? It's always the same, it's just a shame, that's all. Turning me on, turning me off, making me feel like I want too much. Living with you's just putting me through it all the time.
And with the number 1 pick in the 2014 NHL entry draft, the Florida Panthers pick Phil Collins.